Welcome everybody, my name is Tim, and we are back with Barry. Now right now, I'm still in low power mode. Amber still has me trapped in here. But I figured, you know what, Dusty's in here with me, and this game really doesn't require that much handwork, so I'll just hold Dusty while I read this. And he's got his cone on, because he just got neutered 2 days ago, so it's, hopefully he doesn't pee on me, but, he wants some quiet time, so I'll sit here and read to Dusty. But let's begin Chapter 2. I'll move the mic closer so you guys can hear me a little better. We're standing on a thin platform of what looks like a fancy subway. The rails look well used but not old. There are small overhead lights that are very dim, as if they are running on emergency power. The dim overhead lights are a blessing, but the size of the place makes me feel vulnerable. Staring ahead, the tunnel seems to be endless. It's almost dizzying. But there's a small light further ahead, and then a space that breaks the monotony of the tunnel's curved surface. Another platform, maybe? Why are we in a subway tunnel? Dennis, what do you think this is? What does he think it is? Looks like we're waiting for the D train, Dennis says with a deadly sounding cackle. Also, the ringing noise is louder down here. It's much more solid now, and there's some other sound. Something like the faint hum of machinery. What's your take on this, boss? You think we're safe down here, Dennis asks. Not at all. This is what I think to myself, but I don't want to let Dennis see that I'm rattled. While he seems to be limping along much better than when we first stumbled into this place, he's still in rough shape. I'm leading him here, and I should probably make him feel confident in that. Yeah, we'll be fine. Sorry, I didn't realize that was gonna go down that fast. We're too far in to go back, I say. Besides, if we get caught for trespassing, I'm pretty sure we'd slide by. We're good. You're in pain, and we've got to find the rest of our crew. They could still be here somewhere. Dennis nods and looks reassured, albeit weak and miserable. From the looks of it, we can go either left or right. The left is slightly lit, the right not so much. This makes me uneasy because I get the sense that one wrong turn in a place like this would have us wandering for hours. Suddenly I jerk my head to the right as I hear the unmistakable sound of someone walking. Did you hear something? I asked Dennis, my eyes straining to see anything in the darkness. Not sure, he says. Maybe it kind of sounded like footsteps. I wait a moment, but the sound doesn't come again. So those are our options. To the left are flickering lights indicating that we'll at least be able to see. There's also a hum of machinery, a sign of life. The right is just darkness, but we also heard footsteps in that direction. Those footsteps could be anyone. I mean, we need help. We need to find people, and I guess I shouldn't be... Go toward the footsteps. We need help. You decided to go into the darkness. If there's anyone here they're worth speaking to, right it is. Continue. As we leave the glow of electrical lights, things instantly start to feel a bit more sinister. I look at Dennis's injuries again. The gash along his side is inflamed now. And while the bleeding seems to have stopped, the amount that has soaked into his pants and shirt is beyond alarming. How much further can you walk? I ask him. Can you keep going? Yes, Dennis says. Let's walk into the deep, dark tunnel that has no business being here. He's right. The darkness we found ourselves in feels thick, like walking in syrup. I am reminded of the fear I felt as a child when I had to go into the basement to fetch tools from my dad. I was sure there were snakes or spiders or monsters of unimaginable horror lurking down there. I feel that same way here, walking through the tunnel. That's when I see a human figure, far back in the tunnel, silhouetted in the faint light at the end. He's standing on some other platform up ahead and likely cannot see us. It looks like he might be holding a gun, but it's too dark to be sure. Never sneak up on someone with a gun. If you sneak up on someone, they'll turn around and shoot you. You call out to someone with a gun so that when they turn, even if they shoot, chances are they'll miss. My voice echoes through the tunnel, bouncing endlessly off the walls. The figure turns toward us and freezes, like a deer sensing danger. "Why the hell did you do that?" Dennis whispers to me. "We don't know who that is. We don't know where we are." "I don't know," I said. "Maybe he can answer some questions." But that doesn't happen. The person can't see us in the dark, and after a moment, the figure rushes away through a door up ahead. As we head further into the tunnel, we reach another platform. There's light coming from the platform, but like the overhead lights, they are dim, red emergency lights. I start to wonder if the explosion at the lodging site caused a power outage in this place, whatever this place is. The ringing noise that I originally thought was in my head is getting louder. I'm starting to think it's some sort of alarm. When we come to the large open area ahead in the tunnel, it further resembles a subway station. As much as I try to ignore the reality, it's undeniable. We have stumbled into some sort of high-tech transportation system that is buried beneath the forest of Kentucky. It makes absolutely no sense and creates an entirely new sort of fear as to what the hell we have walked into. I notice that Dennis seems confident though. When we reach the large opening, we have to climb over the rails and up onto the platform. I have to help Dennis over the rails and then up the small utility ladder that is bolted to the opposite side of the travelway. When he reaches the large open area resembling a subway waiting area, he collapses on the floor and lets out heavy breathing. "You know what?" Dennis says, exasperated. "This is ridiculous. I quit. I'm not going any further." On top of worrying about my crew and the madness of wherever we are, I'm not in the mood for Dennis to act like a little baby. "Get up. Pull yourself together, Dennis. It's okay. Take it easy. You can do this." Dennis is a tough guy. He needs tough love. He'll respond well to tough love. I'm ashamed that I'm getting irritated with him. "Oh, you think I'm just relaxing here?" he asks sarcastically. "Sorry if I'm slowing your progress. Great plan you got here, by the way." His response make my blood boil. I don't need this shit from him right now, that's for sure. Yank him up by his collar, help him up slowly. Don't be aggressive. I can't stand the guilt anymore. A sappy apology comes out of my mouth before I can clamp my lips down against it. "I'm sorry, I lost my temper," I say. "It was uncalled for, but I'm under some stress here, as I'm sure you can understand." He hesitates for a moment, and I'm sure that he'll ignore me, but he surprises me. "I get it," he says. "Apology accepted. As for me, sorry, I was being a jerk." Apparently, bleeding out makes me kinda high-strung. Dennis is always high-strung, and about 2 harsh words away from trading punches with someone, but I can keep that to myself. We exchange an awkward look and put it behind us. It is no different than some argument we might have had on the job site over a few beers. One thing is for sure, I'd much rather be arguing with him over a few beers than here in this nightmare. I reach down, help him to his feet, and then we get ourselves up to the platform. Right in front of us, there's an entrance to a long hallway. Exiting the platform area, it's at this point that I realize those red emergency lights might be on for someone else who is actually supposed to be here, like that guy I saw earlier standing on the platform. Stay quiet. The guy ran when you yelled, so obviously he's not supposed to be here either. I'm still not sure if I want to alert anyone to the fact that there are strangers in this secret place, and the thought of hearing a scream, even my own scream, in this empty place is too much to bear. The emergency lights continue to flicker overhead, casting a sick sort of pinkish light on everything. My mind is racing with what sort of place this might be. It's obvious that it's meant to be a secret. And if it is supposed to be a secret, and there was a power outage recently, maybe most everyone has been evacuated. But then why was that one person still here? This thought does nothing to make me feel any better as we walk toward the platform exit. We step inside, and it seems just as empty as every other place we've come through. Weakly illuminated by more overhead emergency lights. We're standing inside a hallway that looks surreal for a moment. The hallway reminds me of a hospital wing, but there's something not quite right about it. It's the first clean and tidy area I've seen since coming to in the woods. It looks like it was recently in use, despite the dim emergency lights overhead. There are chairs against the walls, and the floor looks well cleaned, as do the walls. The ringing noise is definitely coming from here, and a small flashing red light along the ceiling seems to flash along with it. That ringing noise is an alarm, I say, if only to comfort my own thought. But for what? Dennis asks. And then he asks the question that has been on my mind since we fell into that hole. What the hell is this place? We exchange a look that speaks volumes. We reach the end of the hallway and hear a sound like a large, metallic grinding. This is followed by a clicking noise and then the unmistakable noise of a generator kicking on. It's okay, Dusty. You don't gotta be scared. It's just a story. Oh, this is much better. Everything's lit up. Without warning, the facility jolts to life. The red glow of the emergency lights is suddenly replaced by bright, white fluorescent ones. That mechanical hum is oddly comforting. Somehow, the power being back on urges us on. It's then that I notice the ringing noise has stopped. So it had been an alarm, but for what? Just the power failure? We head down the hallway, the electric hum of the lights sounding eerie overhead. Other than that, the place is dead quiet. The hall is about 100 feet long with two main doors. One door opens onto a large room that looks like a conference room with a whiteboard and papers strewn about. Across the hallway, another door looks like a laboratory of some sort. Dennis slumps against the wall in defeat and lets out a scary sounding chuckle. Something funny? I ask as a dark and brooding panic starts to grip me. Dennis just keeps chuckling as he slides down to the floor. I'm just going to sit here while you look around, he says. There's a look in his eyes that reminds me far too much of a dead animal on the side of the road. I probably wouldn't understand anything in the lab, so I should enter the conference room. Maybe there's some, papers in there I can read that'll illuminate the situation a bit more. A large table sits in the middle of the room, lined with a series of chairs. It looks like something straight out of a showroom. A well-used whiteboard hangs on the wall, and there are scattered papers on the desk. Look at the papers on the table, look at the whiteboard on the wall, look at the papers on the table. Most of the papers and printouts have codes and equations that all go way over my head, but there are also handwritten notes that don't make me feel any better about our situation. I read through them and see scrawled notes that say things like last experiment failed, overdose before transport, levels indicate cellular catabolism, question mark, question mark, question mark, more lead shielding in export suits. Measurements make no sense. Let Barksdale know about the possible Higgs field fix. Dusty, you need to stay still. You're just recovering from surgery. Stay still. Look at the whiteboard on the wall. A few things were scribbled on the whiteboard, mostly formulas and names, but there are some things that are easy to understand. Things that make my blood go cold. Subject number 6, cause of death, embolism or aneurysm, or both, question mark. Ideas for new delivery mode, yeah. Spherical liquid, comatose state. Terracore company equal possible plutonium supplier. Outside in the hallway, I hear Dennis grunting. I head out of the room to see him still seated on the floor, but I don't get very far because as I exit, a man comes rushing around the corner with an automatic rifle in his hands. It's hard to look beyond his rifle, but the man carrying it is young, with messy dark hair, excuse me. His skin is so pale that I wonder if maybe he lives down here. He has the look of a guy who's been cooped up for a little too long. He doesn't seem like the kind of person I'd trust with a gun in a stressful situation. As he sees us in the doorway, he screams and brings the gun up. It is aimed directly at my head. Dennis jumps up and stands next to me like he's ready to run for it. I recognize him by the height and build. He's the person I could barely see back in the dark tunnel. Put hands in the... He's got a gun. Don't try to attack. Put hands in the air. I put my hands in the air, surprised at how natural it feels to go into this surrendered state. Maybe it's because this feels like a dream. Maybe it's because I feel like I'll snap awake if the maniac pulls the trigger. Who are you and how did you get in here? The man asks harshly before we can answer. He continues speaking. I don't recognize you. If you're here, you would have had to sneak in by the security mics in the entrance hall. What? I ask, unable to think of anything to say. Who are you? The man asked. Did you do this? The man eyes us both, and I see something in his eyes that unsettles me. He is scared, but there is something else. We're just loggers. His eyes look distant for a minute, and then he says bullshit. But for some reason, I'm pretty sure he knows I'm telling him the truth. Someone knocked the power out, the man says. It's back on now, but if it was out long enough, well, we're in a heap of trouble. Was it you who sent you? Who sent you? Look, we don't know what you're talking about, Dennis says. Something happened out in the woods. Are you alone? Are there others with you? The armed man asked, thrusting the gun in my face. How the hell did we get in this situation? I think to myself, if we hadn't fallen into that hole, we wouldn't be here. I'm not really sure if we want to be giving this guy information. We don't know anything about him. Then again, he might have answers. Of course he has answers. He's got a gun in this facility, and he's asking about who sent you and all that stuff. We're looking for our crew. We have other crew members that we can't find, I say. Your crew, he asks, seeming confused. If this man thinks that we're nuts, there's no telling what he might do. The fact that he looks a little crazy himself makes the situation even hairier. But how'd you get in here, the man asks. I pointed down the hallway toward the subway. We came in that way, the doors weren't locked. His expression calms down a bit, but I am still very aware of the gun that is leveled less than a foot away from my face. Please put the gun down. Never grab a gun. You ask the man calmly to put his gun down. The only way I'm putting this rifle down is after I've blown your brains out, the man says. With that, he uses the muzzle of the gun to flip my hard hat onto the floor. It's a childish move, a playground tactic at best, but it's sufficient to show me that he knows he's in control now. He then levels the rifle at Dennis, and I can only assume it's because his wounds make him appear to be the weaker of us. The man takes a shaky step forward. Dennis looks back and forth between the barrel of the gun and me, his eyes pleading for help. Step between Dennis and the gun. Dennis can't take a bullet. I could probably survive it if it hit me, so... We step between the gun and Dennis. Before I'm fully aware of what I'm doing, I step in front of Dennis. The barrel of the rifle is nearly touching my chest now. Both Dennis and the man seem a little confused at my action, and I do my best to swallow down my fear. I don't know what's going on here, I say. We are here by mistake. Well, you have no business here, the man says. But now that the power is on, I think you might be too late anyway. For what, I asked. But he doesn't answer me. Instead, he steps forward and actually pushes me backwards with the end of his rifle. The man then repeats a question he asked before, one that makes no sense and honestly makes me think he might be a little crazy. Who sent you, he asks. You assholes from the Pentagon? I'm not quite sure how to take this question. Is this guy joking? No, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah, I'm the president. What are you talking about? Now is not the time to joke. This guy is clearly insane. No, I say, we're just loggers. Something blew up and my friend got hurt. We're looking for the rest of our crew. Likely story, the man says, but I see a flicker of recognition in his face that makes me think he might believe me. Still, his grip on the gun is as tight as ever. The look on his face makes me think he'll shoot at any moment. You both just stand still, he says. Sooner or later someone will come along and I'll turn you over. He again thrusts the gun forward as if it has an invisible bayonet on it. There's no need for that, I tell him. I have no guarantee he won't pull the trigger. Look, Dennis says, we don't want any trouble. We're just as confused as you are. Then in a moment so fast that I just about miss it, Dennis lunges forward. I have no idea how he's moving so fast. Just 30 seconds ago, I was worried about how close to death he looked. But now he's moving lightning fast, his left arm coming down on the barrel of the gun like a club. In the commotion, the man does pull the trigger. The booming noise is deafening, and there is a moment where I think I've been hit. It takes the clanging noise of the round tearing into the floor at my feet to help me realize that I have not been shot. I look to the floor and see where the shot missed my right leg by less than 3 inches. I'm paralyzed, in shock for a moment as Dennis and the man fight over possession of the rifle. There's a fire extinguisher on the wall. I could use it as a bludgeon, but I might not have enough time to grab it before Dennis is overpowered. You don't need it. You're strong, dude. You're a logger. You carry gigantic pieces of wood every day. Punch the bastard. Dennis has the man pinned on the floor, but isn't strong enough to keep him down. As I fall to the floor to help, the barrel of the rifle swings right in front of my face, a reminder of how close I had come to being shot. On my knees now, I deliver a hard, stiff punch to the man's face. I don't punch someone often, never really. I'm not usually the brawling type. Still, it's apparently effective. The man's head snaps back hard and his grip on the gun loosens. Dennis grabs the gun and falls to the floor, clearly winded and in pain. Our attacker is immobilized and I can feel a shift in the situation. Yet, although he is basically harmless now, I feel the need to pummel him, a desire that builds with each second I look at him. Stand up and step back. Never give in to that kind of temptation. Hey, it's okay. It's okay, don't dig. He's definitely out now, no threat, or at least that's what I think. But he surprises me by mustering up one more swift kick in my direction, connecting with my forehead. My eyelid swells to the size of a grape almost immediately. It seems like this last attack is more to spite me than to defend himself. I stumble back and ready myself for another round of blows, but he just slouches into the floor. He's done. Dennis instantly hands the rifle over to me and I take it with shaking hands. I can't believe you stepped between me and that gun, as Dennis said. He could have killed you. I was pretty sure he wouldn't, I said, although I had known no such thing. Still, thanks, man. That was some heroic stuff. You would have done the same for me, right? Dennis says nothing. His eyes look to the floor. What do we do now, boss? Dennis asks. We've come this far and I want answers. I sense that Dennis does too. I walk over and pick up my hard hat off the floor. After placing it on my head, I turn toward the man. We get answers from this guy. No answers, the man says. I don't have any. Next time I won't just hit you, I say, plunging the rifle toward him. Now get up. He obeys quickly, but his legs are wobbly, and he leans against the wall for support. I can feel my swollen eyelid from where he kicked me earlier. I just hope it doesn't get so bad that it affects my sight. Okay, let's move, I say, pointing the gun further down the hallway. We've come this far, and I'm not going to let this guy stop us. We walk down the hallway until we come to the end. A single elevator waits for us. Its steel sliding doors larger than a normal elevator. Also, if you guys can hear the little chit-chat of Dusty's teeth, that's something bunnies do called chattering. I think that's the name of it. But it's when they're very happy they do that. Dusty's enjoying being held by me right now. Before I get into the elevator with this guy, I think it's wise to learn a bit more about him. I can tell it's making him uncomfortable for me to have the gun. What's your name, I ask. Marcus. And you work here? It's clear that he doesn't want to answer, but he gives us a little nod. We're looking for the rest of our crew. Any idea where they might be? I ask. No, he says curtly, not bothering to elaborate. There's got to be some useful info we can get out of this guy. I just need to know how to dig for it. I need a first aid kit for my friend here, I say. Where might I find one? Down on the second floor, he says, but we can't go down there. We are going down there. What's on level 2? Why can't we go down there? That's the good question to ask. He looks at me like I'm an idiot. You must be aware you're inside a classified government facility, he said. It makes sense, but I want to doubt it. Well, I'm sure our government would want you to help save my friend, so take me to the first aid kit. I can't, he says. You don't have clearance. Hell, I barely have clearance. And seemingly to himself, he mutters, I make this place run. And not even a thank you, just a bunch of restricted access rooms that I'm only allowed to go in with a freaking chaperone. I interrupt his monologue. We're going to that first aid kit. I could lose my job, he says. I wonder for a moment what sort of trouble I could get in for hitting a government employee. This makes me glad I took it easy on him. Then again, he had come at us with a rifle. It makes me think that things have gone terribly wrong in this place, and the explosion in the woods, or whatever the hell had happened, might be linked to it all. I need to convince him to take us to the second floor, but I'm not sure if it would be more productive to threaten him or to ask for sympathy. He's not going to respond to threats. This is a guy who kicked me in the face out of spite. So just ask him for help. Look, I say, it hasn't been the best day. We're just trying to find out what's going on, to find our crew to survive. I know that this isn't a normal situation down here. It looks like all your protocols have been blown to hell. Can't you help us out? He looks at me sternly, weighing his options. Okay, he says. Thank you, I say. Dusty, calm down. You don't need to touch my mouse. With an untrusting stare, Marcus walks to the elevator door, approaching a small keypad by the doors. He punches in a numerical code on the keypad and we can hear a slight mechanical hum behind the steel doors. After a few seconds of angry glances and frightening sneers from Marcus, the elevator arrives. The steel doors slide open with a whisper, revealing the interior. It's exceptionally well lit and looks to be made of stainless steel. I half expect the thing to take off at the speed of light. There's another small keypad on the front right panel by the door with the options for 3 sub-level floors. Looks like this elevator doesn't go to the surface. So after we get a first aid kit for Dennis, how do we get out of here, I ask. We can't leave, Marcus says. Once the power came back on, the whole place was put on lockdown. What? I shout. Can't you override it? No, it's to prevent anything from getting out. I can't. Marcus looks as deflated as Dennis. We can't get out. We're stuck here. Dennis leans into the corner and almost falls onto the floor. The struggle for the rifle took a lot out of him. I can see that much in his face. Slowly, we start to move down. The hum and grind of the car's motors fill the space. So we're stuck here forever. What can you do? Marcus bristles at the question, but I think it's fair. I mean, he's not allowed to unlock the doors or even get medical supplies. Why keep a guy around who can't even grab a band-aid without permission? Without me, nothing would get done here, Marcus answered. These people think they're so brilliant, but some of them can barely turn their computers on without help. The top coder in my class at MIT, and I'm stuck living underground helping idiots who don't even trust me with the keys. How big is this place? What goes on here? Who cares how big this place is? What goes on here? Marcus shakes his head. You may as well shoot me, I can't tell you. Why not? It's beyond classified, and the things I know don't even cover the start of it. What does that mean, I ask, starting to get irritated. It means that even if I wanted to tell you what sort of work is done here, I don't know enough about it. What's your job? I handle the IT work and make sure the databases are up and running. It's a 24/7 job. I haven't seen sunlight in almost a year. Dusty, calm down. I wonder what staying in a place like this for that long would do to someone's mind. I was recruited, he continues, because of the workload. No one else wants this job, but I don't really mind being by myself, no family. Plus the IT, it's some crazy shit. Crazy how, I ask. This place generates over 100 terabytes of data per day. I can beat that. I run on 7 yottabytes. Amber's got this place beat, alright? 100 terabytes of data per day. He answers, getting the slightest bit excited before his face falls again. What happened here? What knocked the lights out? Seems like some sort of power outage, Marcus says. That's all I know. There was an outage, and then what? Dennis asks weakly. Then things got weird. Things got bad. Bad how, I ask. The whole place seemed to shake when the lights went out. I was checking the monitors when it happened, and everything went dead. It took no more than a minute or so before I started hearing the screams. People were being killed by something. I tried getting the security cameras going again, but they only lasted for a little bit on my backup systems. But what I saw, what, I ask, feeling a sharp fear worm its way into my guts. Well, what I saw on the screens for that little bit of time made no sense. It made me get the gun from the emergency vault. I think whatever it is, it's still down here. Hold on, I say. There's an emergency vault with a rifle in the same room as the security cameras in this place? Marcus gives me a grin that looks nearly insane. There are guns locked away in every room in this place. Just in case, you know? Just in case of what? As he opens his mouth to answer, the elevator comes to a stop and the doors slide open. Marcus is out right away without a word. He makes his exit and heads directly for the glassed-in room that's filled with computer monitors and high-end equipment. Dennis and I file out behind him, trying to keep up. As we do, one very alarming question runs through my head. What the hell kind of government facility keeps loaded guns in emergency vaults in every single room? End of chapter 2. Curiosity. You and 58% of players called out to Marcus when you saw him in the tunnel. Selflessness. You and 64% of players stepped in front of Dennis to protect him from Marcus. Mercy. You and 65% of players were easy on Marcus after he surrendered. But that's all the time I've got for this episode. I really hope you guys are enjoying this, and I hope you guys are enjoying getting to see Dusty so much, even though his face is hidden behind the cone. But, and Dusty, I know you're enjoying getting to lay here. I can hear you chattering your little teeth. But, anyway, that's all the time I got for this episode. There will be more because, as I said, Amber's got me locked up here for the night out of spite for costing her a lot on her electric bill. So, I'm basically stuck here for the night while she hacks into whatever she's hacking into to change her electric bill. But, that aside, as always, none of this is real.